Amigos de Infernal Talks, hoy estamos ni más ni menos que con Michael Weikath de Helloween. Michael, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're like 2 weeks or something like for the release of your new album Helloween. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, that on the June 18th, there will be the release of the self-titled Helloween album. And we're very proud of the result and all the tracks on there. And that
After almost
yeah, say again.
After almost 4 decades, you decide to release this self-titled album now. Is this name some kind of statement about the status of the band after the return of Kirskin Hansen to the band?
It's also because we're all feeling pretty proud and assured about the whole thing, that when we had the tour going, it was so overwhelming. I mean, the reactions of the people, of the fans, and everything was running so fine. So we decided to go like, okay, the 7-piece band now is the Helloween band, right? Before it was called Pumpkins United and stuff, and we were thinking of just dropping that moniker then. And so now it's just Helloween because it feels good.
How was the decision, all this process of creating this new album after this success of Pumpkins United tour?
That was like the logical step that, like everyone said, whether it was the fans or the management or the record company or maybe even us ourselves, it was said, so after all this, things are running very good. How about doing a new album as the 7-piece band that you are? And that sure was like, you know, an incentive and like a very good thing to do. I mean, we actually also felt like, okay, now we can prove what we can do, possibly to ourselves and to everyone else.
As you said, you're now a 7-piece band, and also you are a three-singer band. Was difficult to adjust and to fix these vocal lines having so many singers in the band?
I mean, during the composition of the demos, everybody was already thinking of like, okay, this line, this part could be sung by him or by him. And then also the Dennis Ward, who's like the co-producer of the Charlie Bauerfeind, who was also the bass player of Pink Cream and Unisonic, and he's been doing a few albums with Michael Kiske and the Kai Hansen beforehand, so he has like a close knowledge of all personalities involved. He was actually putting the lines of the lyrics into colors, like blue, red, whatever there was. And then he was going around checking with everyone, like, so you want to sing this, and this is like another idea. Do you think so? And that's the way it went. But basically, the 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 ideas that were already there, like he should sing this or that, were more or less maintained. There were only slight changes, and then you know the qualities of the single singers, and you can easily imagine who you would like to have there as a composer of a new track. And that went well.
But I heard that Michael Kiske didn't want to collaborate with new songs for this new album. Why?
I think he had enough to do already, and then he was meeting with the Sasha. He was traveling around quite a bit. He did a lot for the whole thing, so to say. And he was also here on the island to get to know the Andy Darris. That was, I mean, mentally, I think it was like a lot for him to accept and achieve and go like this and that. And at some point in the middle, when we were meeting for the demos and stuff, and also before, he actually said, where the songwriting concerned is that's kind of skipped for now, it seems. That's what he said. And he says he has a few acoustic ideas and whatever. So from what I understood right now, he's in the process of doing an acoustic solo album for now. And there was just nothing there, you know. It's like a lot of work to compose something that's to be ending up on a record like that. And actually, if I were him, I would have already had enough to do. I mean, with like singing all the new tracks, you know, that are there, it also needs to be done, right? And in the time when everyone was doing pre-production and demos at their respective own home equipments, he was actually going around seeing after things that, like for instance, the Sasha wanted to have in Berlin, and he went there and they were trying parts and things and got to know each other even more. So, but that's just what it is. He said the songwriting aspect kind of got skipped for me, it seems, he said.
Do you have some problems in this all production recording sessions just for the pandemics?
We were luckily finished with most of what needed to be recorded. There were a few choirs and vocals and some solo guitars and melodies guitars left, right? And that's what we did. And after the lockdown struck, you could still take a taxi or drive to the studio in order to finish everything that was necessary. You know? So when that happened, we had the biggest part of all the recordings already finished, luckily.
This new album has 12 songs, and there are more extras out there. It seems it's, I think, 15 songs already. Do you write and record more songs that should be released later?
Yes, yeah. There's lots of talk in between management, record company, and band, right? And eventually come up with like a running order of tracks that made it to the album. And then there's the regular number of bonus tracks, B-sides, or what it's called. And it's sometimes it's like a traumatic process, you know, because naturally everyone who wrote something would like to have it on the album at best. And then if that doesn't happen, that's always like a tricky time, you know, because like everyone wrote tracks and that's his baby and he wants to bring it across and stuff. So that's something, if you don't plan for like this could be a nice B-side or this could be like a nice bonus track or whatever, if you don't say that right away, that can always be kind of like a sad bit in time when you're being told no, it's not coming on the album, or we keep this and we take it for the next album. Then you have to wait as a composer. That's a horrible situation, and some people deal with it well or other people don't, right? Luckily we have no big problems here. I'm talking about that process of what makes the album and what goes elsewhere, you know. And so that has been concluded more or less before we even started the recordings. We had kind of like a set list and running order of what will be what.
How do you feel that these dynamics inside the band now with Kiske and Hansen again in the band, but now in the studio? Do you feel it works everything fine and smooth?
Yeah, we had that pre-production time in November, December of 2019. And that was like almost 2 months going over the material that was there. And rough guitar lines were already recorded right from the start. So like the Charlie Bauerfeind, he had like a selection of signals and whatever that he could use for later on. And for the Danny to play the real serious drums on from that point. So computer sessions were created. And then we went to look for basically everything: tempo, groove, speed of things, dynamics, and other ideas. Some parts were cut or edited, or some things were expanded, and there were like lots of hours that were spent in the recording room, so to say, as like 4 or 5 people trying things. And oh, this is a part that's interesting. We could use this chord there instead, or whatever. It was like kind of lots of work, but it also did a lot of stuff. Then we were thinking about tunings of tracks even. So the basic idea was to maybe return to the regular E tuning on guitars as we had on the first few Helloween albums. Then later on we were on D sharp, and for the albums of the recent years we actually went to D. That's kind of like 2 half steps down. And bands like Queen, for instance, they used to record their first albums on D, and other bands. And so the plan was to see if maybe one can return to the regular E tuning, because that's also got like a particular energy. But with the tracks that I've done, it was on D and just suits the singers best. So that was all taken into consideration. How high is this? How is like the expression? Basically, every detail was checked in that time. It was quite a long time, and then the Danny, he actually um, continued right after with the drum recordings, which were done on the Ingo Schwichtenberg's drum set that was used for the Keeper 2. And it was recorded on analog 24-track tape. So none of the regular digital recording for the drums this time. It was with tape recording.
Do you feel this 7 pieces Helloween is kind of the most complete lineup you ever had? The definitive Helloween?
It's surely one conglomerate of real able persons and individuals, you know. It's like it's like a combination of everyone has like particular strengths or shortcomings, and then you can basically do whatever you wish, you know. And the singers, they are complementing each other. The guitars are complementing each other, which is a lucky thing. There's guitarists who just don't simply match, you know, where you go like and say like, okay, we want to have 3 guitars. You actually got to be lucky that all those guitars fit to each other, and they do. Basically, we could do anything like if we were supposed to, but this is also the result with that album. No? I keep looking over there because I have the running order of the cover over there on the monitor.
Almost 40 years, something easy to say, but what has been the most difficult thing you have to overcome as a band to get to this moment?
Generally spoken, we have lots of experience with each other, because we had the Hellish Rock tours where the Kai Hansen was already there. Then for the rest of what we were doing, it was the new situation with the Michael Kiske in the band. But he's like very, very calm, very cool, understanding, and also curious what's coming at him that he has to do. And then he's probing and thinking about everything like in a very positive, friendly, mild manner. Kind of like, that too, and then he's thinking, and then he's singing, right? And it's like this. We had our wild egos back then when we were in the 80s, and we were under that positive pressure of having so much success. But on the other hand, we didn't exactly have a management that would be helpful in solving problems or whatever, or get through tricky situations or whatever, we were kind of left alone on that. There was no person of respect that you would trust like we have with our management nowadays. If there was like a big problem or some tricky situation, we have the guys in the management who also know each and every person of us like pretty close and pretty well, and everybody knows the characters of everyone. And we are not adults now. Maybe one is, I don't know, but the rest is not adult. It's just we have that experience of how to deal with each other in certain situations or to avoid uh, actual tricky situations that could come up. And so we're more or less positive about the whole thing. We're also pretty surprised about how everything is running so fine, and we're actually enjoying it. And I don't feel it like seven persons. I always think of the whole thing, and I'm feeling it's less than seven people. But then when you go count, yeah, it's seven people. It just doesn't feel like it.
We will have to wait until 22 to see you again on stage. How desperate are you to play live again?
Yeah, well, we hope we have tour dates for next year. I hope that's going to happen. I just don't know. We would need some divine intervention to make that happen eventually. And then that's what it is. I just hope for the best at this point, for what I can say.
I must confess I was not so on Halloween until I saw you live in Colombia. Do you remember Knotfest Colombia? Like 4 years ago. And you were a total blast live. So, how do you keep this energy after so many years?
Uh, we don't know, but that's basically at least the only thing we can do, possibly, right? I mean, that's kind of our job, or that's what we always did. And if you're not ill or something, right? Like in the beginning of the tour, I had like a very bad flu, and the Michael Kiske had his vocal cords affected by traveling. So the first show was tricky, but then we somehow made it out of that and kept going and going and going. But usually, if you're fine and awake and healthy and whatever, you can go out and do something. If like the technical side is fine, if the sound is good and everything, you would even do a great show, even if there was like a technical problem or whatever, that you can go around or whatever. You just got to be cool in certain situations. But other than that, if everything is ideal and the technical side is working out, like the lights, the temperature, the volume, the sound system, everything is good, you can do what you actually rehearsed for. Then you go there and present it, and then eventually the spark in between the band and the people will, come and hit. And that was actually what happened during almost all these shows. That was amazing, and it was kind of incredible that how that worked, the interaction in between the crowd and the band. And then it took on biblical proportions later on at the Wacken Festival or in Rock in Rio and all the shows in between. It doesn't matter if you play like a smaller show or like a stadium show or whatever that is. When the spark moves over in between, then everything is just fine and great, and that's probably the thing that everyone is waiting for. And that kind of happens very often. Then it also makes things a lot easier. It's not there that you're being threatened by the fans. The fans actually come there because they wanted to see you. You know?
Helloween is a very beloved band here in Mexico. Every time you come here, it's a huge success. How do you manage to create this strong bond with a country so apparently far to Germany?
Well, the thing is, we were not told in the early days that records of us were being sold in Latin America. And particular in Mexico, nobody ever told us. The record company didn't tell us. And I heard the first rumors when like, people I knew, they were in Mexico for the vacation, and they brought me marks that said Helloween from Mexico, and like patches and stickers. And they said, it seems you're pretty famous down there. You have lots of fans, right? And it was like, we didn't know. Nobody told us. Until eventually we came to Brazil for the Philips Festival, and then the Darius, and everyone could witness what that was like. And it was kind of like the first time to see. And that was kind of madness. And all these things, the success with the Latin American community was just like kept a secret. Nobody told us. First, we had to get to that point, and all the time that has passed, and we were never admitted down there by some reason. And then eventually, then it was there to see what it was. And so the Mexicans, they have building up the home cult for Helloween, and their love for the band themselves for a long time, until we finally appeared,
Escuchen el nuevo álbum de Helloween, Helloween, el próximo 18 de junio. Michael, see you.
Gracias. Buenas.
Bye.